Mexico is a land of beauty and intrigue, rich in culture, where people from all over the world come for rest and relaxation. But deep in the heart of this geographical wonder lies a generation of children forced to live in abject poverty, in conditions worse than most of the pets we own. Wings of Hope and Latin American Ministry are working to make a difference. Jim and Pam Stockdale are called to minister to these very children.
I remember the Christmas of 2005 when we first opened Wings of Hope at the first feeding center. Pam wasn't able to go, so she stayed home to take care of some things here, and I loaded the plane with presents and gifts and headed off to Saltillo. And when I got there, I talked to our administrator about how many we should expect, how many children would come. And he said that he was figuring 25 kids. So I said, well, we need to prepare for 50 then. If you're expecting 25, let's have at least twice as many gifts and food. So we expected 25, we prepared for 50, and on the opening day, over 200 children showed up. It was unbelievable. We were jammed into this little church building where we were doing the feeding center, and we had to number the kids. There were so many of them to give out the gifts. We had to number the kids and then call the number so that they could come forward and get their gift.
The next month, in January, I got to go, and so I got to see the children for the first time. Our staff had chosen 40 out of the 200 that came for the Christmas party, and 200 was such a vast amount for us to take on at that time. So we said, okay, we're going to have to narrow this down. We're going to have to pick 40 was our goal. So Javier and Millie and the staff there, they went through and we chose the worst of the worst.
And we began with 40 children, feeding them 3 days a week, one meal a day, and that's where we started. Just a few months later, in May of 2006, we opened the second feeding center, and that one also feeds 40 children. Of course, both of these feeding centers also feed some of the mothers. Some of these children bring or come with mothers. Most of them don't. But we also feed the mothers who come, and not only do we feed them, but we help to educate them and teach them some things.
And we want to give those kids a hand up, and we want to feed them. And the best part is we're not just feeding them food, we're teaching them about Jesus.
We're convicted about it. We believe that those children, once educated and equipped, can do more to change their environment and change their world than we could ever do in a lifetime.
That very first time in January when I went to the feeding center in Saltillo, a little girl walked up to me. I didn't know her name at the time, but it was Denise. And she looked up at me and she said, "Does Jesus live in your heart?" And I don't speak Spanish, and I asked Jim standing with me, and I said, what is she saying? And he said, "She asked you, does Jesus live in your heart?" And I looked at her and I said, "Oh, yes, he does. Does he live in your heart?" And she said, "Yes, he does." She said, "Pastor Tony has told us, he has been teaching us that we can ask Jesus to come and live in our heart, and he will."
We fed 13,050 meals in the year of 2006. Pam and I flew our airplane over 30,000 miles. That doesn't count the commercial miles that we traveled to Europe and to El Salvador and other places that we flew commercial that was too far to reach in our own airplane. But those are the numbers and the things that you're helping this ministry to do. We could never do that alone. We don't have the ability.
Perhaps you cannot go. Maybe you're the hands, maybe you're making blankets, maybe you're crocheting, maybe you're quilting, maybe you're giving a financial donation. It doesn't matter what the part is, but the best part or the vital part is that we are each doing something.
We're believing for 50 feeding centers across Mexico, each one feeding 100 children every day, 7 days a week. That's what our vision, that's what we're believing for. Somebody said one time, "Jim, aren't you afraid you'll fall on your face?" I said, I was on my face when I got that vision.
Proverbs tells us that he that giveth to the poor lendeth to the Lord. And for just $3 a day, you can help to bring the word of hope and a hot meal to a child who would otherwise go to bed hungry or at very best malnourished. What if one of these children is the next Billy Graham or Abraham Lincoln? Only in heaven will we truly know the lives that we've touched while here on earth. But what if you and I can help to change the course of a nation by changing the life of a child?